Hi everyone, I'm Mayor Colin Basran. I just want to take a moment to thank everybody for how we've really rallied around one another and come together as a community during this very tough time. And I know this has been a very stressful situation for a lot of residents in our community, and it really makes me proud to be the mayor of this city to see how we've all rallied around one another. But I know that also many of you have a lot of questions as to how this situation has come to be, and as the flooding has gotten more and more serious, a lot of you have been asking how we've gotten into this situation. So what we are doing is providing a series of videos to provide information as to the current situation and what we can expect over the next coming days and weeks ahead. So I hope you find these videos very informative and useful. I'm here with Cindy Yu from Environment Canada. So just want to talk to you a little bit about weather and how weather has affected or helped, I guess, create the situation that we're facing right now.
It was quite a cold winter, but in terms of the precipitation, we really didn't receive much. We received, for the 3 months total, we've received 56.7 millimeter of precipitation. Of course, it was a combination of rain and snow. The average should be 80.4, so we've only really received 70% of the normal. And in fact, that was the 7th driest December, January, and February on record. Now, heading into the spring seasons, from March through April, we've had a lot of rain. It was cloudy, it was gloomy. So we've in fact received, let's see here, 121.7 millimeter of precipitation. The average should really only be 86. So we've received 141.5% of the normal precipitation, and that puts us to in the spot of the 4th wettest spring on record. So as you can see, it was a big transition from a really dry pattern into a wet pattern.
What kind of summer are we in for, at least early indicators?
Because we've had such a cool spring and gloomy, in fact, we can expect that a drier and warmer pattern is on the way.
So I'm with Dave Campbell from the River Forecast Center. So can you talk a little bit about maybe how we've progressed from the winter into the spring, how things were looking, and maybe where things sort of changed?
So in March 1st, the Okanagan was at 86% of normal. So, when we're looking at this, it's not jumping out as having a high risk in terms of snowpack. When we got into March, weather really took, I don't want to say a turn for the different, but we really started to see a transition to much wetter weather. And so by April 1st, the snow basin index for the Okanagan had jumped up to 105%. And that weather really has persisted throughout since March. April through May has been very, very wet. By the time we got to May 1st, the snow basin index had jumped to 147% of normal for the Okanagan, and really reflecting quite a large amount of snow accumulation that happened over kind of mid-March through to the end of April period, and then a bit of a delay in terms of the onset of melt. And so quite a rapidly changing situation in terms of the snowpack feeding into the Okanagan Basin, particularly just as we entered into the spring.
For the average Kelowna resident, just wondering how this situation evolved, what would you want the takeaway to be as it pertains to the River Forecast Center?
I think the key thing is these are pretty exceptional conditions and circumstances, and they're not ones that we've had a huge lead time in terms of assessing or trying to get a handle on. I would say that it really is a situation that has been quite dynamic, and the variables that go into it quite extreme this year. Extremely wet, extremely heavy snowpacks. And that transition from things looking fairly reasonable to being quite extreme happened over a fairly short period of time.
The lake was a little bit higher than a lot of years going in, but very similar situation to last year. Particularly, like for instance, on the Mission Creek automated snow pillow site, we actually had more snow up there last year than we've seen this year. So again, there was no indicators to say that we were going to get into the kind of trouble we obviously have this year.
So if somebody's sitting at home watching this saying, with the general statement of, well, they should have released water sooner, what's the one takeaway you would like residents who are affected and wondering what more could have been done What do you want them to know?
Sure. I think a big takeaway here is, the kind of seasonal targets that we're using are there to create a balance. We could lower the lake every year, but on the flip side of it, then you would get into the kind of drought-like conditions, which would again have the multi-million-dollar impacts on tourism, irrigation, and the like. So our targets are there to set a value, or to set a balance for these conditions.
Yeah.
But when we get these extreme conditions like we're seeing this year, it's almost impossible to see, to be able to plan for that or to manage the lake for that. There will always be those drought years or those high water years that you just can't see coming.
Really it was the perfect storm. The snowpack came very late, add a lot of water, and I think that the looking for a scapegoat, looking for someone to blame is just irresponsible. It's a complex problem. Mother Nature can wreak havoc. Lakes flood. This one is flooding, and sometimes we just have to accept that as humans, there's only so much we could do, and there aren't simple solutions.